Wagwan, Mr. Maps.
Yo, what it is.
What it is, big man? Are you alive and kicking?
Yeah. No, I'm good. No, it's been a good week so far. So I can't complain.
Yes,
But Friday can't come soon enough. I'm about done with the week.
bro. Hey, it's been a long one. It's been a long
Yeah,
one. Sokusebenzekile
yeah,
is
yeah,
what I
yeah,
was about to say.
yeah.
I personally, I'm ready for this year to be over.
There's this clip that people keep using. I don't even know what movie or show or whatever it's from. This lady sitting on a couch with like a glass of wine. Goes, she sighs and she's like, "Today drained me," and I'm like, "Yep, I feel you."
I feel like
I'm
this
right
Earth
there.
Day.
Exactly. I'm right there with you, man. But guys, welcome back. It is another episode of 6 Foot Weights, your favorite hour with your favorite cheese boys. My name is Tabo.
My name is Senna.
And we back again to, talk about some of you guashers, yeah, no, it's you know what? I was chilling with my wife last night and the word I was thinking about getting food, right? So I'm chilling in bed, my babe, I'm hungry. And she's like, okay, cool, go get some food. I'm like, all right, cool. So then like 10 minutes later, I get up off the bed and she looks at me, she's like, where you going? I'm like, I'm gonna graze. And then in my mind it hit like, so I just said that not knowing, and then 2 seconds later my mind goes, oh shit, that's another word from back in the day. So I get excited. I'm like, babe, I haven't used the word graze in years.
Throwing it back.
Yeah, so really I looked at her, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm going to go cool for this graze. And she rolled her eyes. Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
So that's another classic for y'all, you know. So it's a
It
good one.
is.
Yeah.
It's
Graze
like
must
it's
come
like
back.
I don't know where we were with the boy, with the youth, with my youth. And he goes, I don't know where we went, but he chilled in the car when we went to get food, right? Then we come back and he's like, so where did you guys doof? And I'm like, oh shit, by the way, that was a thing. Oh, where did you
Yeah,
guys
no.
doof? Oh, yo, no, we doofed by that other cafeteria canteen.
That's funny.
Like we went to get food
Yeah.
for those who don't understand.
So yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, if you went to school in Zim, and again, don't believe what people say on the internet. It was not exclusive to just private schools. Everybody was in it. Essentially, if you went to school in Zim, I'd say any time from, if you were in, let's say if you're in high school between 2005 to 2000 to now, I guess, like, because I think they're still doing it
Yeah,
now.
probably till now. It's
Yeah,
probably evolved, I guess,
yeah, it's
to
evolved.
incorporate terms and new words that
Yeah,
we don't even know.
yeah. So I'd say for what we would know, anytime between 2005 and 2015, I would say, if you were in high school in that period, people just started remixing English and started flipping words backwards. Food became doof, and then there were certain words where, like, obviously, like with graze, you normally be like, I'm gonna go eat, right? But then people are like, nah, graze. It's because, like, I don't know, maybe you're trying to emphasize how hungry you are. So, like, to eat is not enough. Like, I must graze, because, like,
Yeah,
think of
you
animals
must
grazing.
graze.
They graze for a while. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of food. When if they say, "Hey, bro, that cow over there is grazing," it's like, you putting away a couple kgs of the grass, is it? So, I mean, I do wish we had the originators of some of these words. Just like, what were you thinking when you came up with the word "own"?
Yeah,
When you came up with like "dage" or
yeah.
"adam," and
But I
it's
think
like,
so. So
what?
own might actually predate a lot of people who went to high school during that time, because I think it's even more international.
Really?
Because even here, like, yeah, colored people in South Africa will refer to
I know
other
there's
guys as
oak,
the
but I
owns.
don't know about owns.
No, so I think it even has like a different spelling. So it's like Ouen. So it's like owns, the owns. So
But
it
you know
comes
what? Also,
from
colored people, I think, had a lot
Afrikaans.
of influence on this. Like because
Oh
I'm
yeah, a
thinking,
lot.
if you talk to your colored friends now, they still incorporate a lot of that language. It just sounds so
Yeah, well,
natural
exe.
with like a colored accent, where it's just like, yeah, no, I think they
Yeah.
deserve a lot of credit. But yeah, one day we'll have a class. We'll have
Oh,
a
here
class.
you go. So the Wiktionary. For
Okay.
those who don't know, that was the thing. Owens, Ouens,
Uh huh.
right? It's a noun, uh, plural of O, and I guess it basically means the gent or
Okay.
agent.
The geese, the yabs.
Yeah, so like the good guys, your guys, the guys, I think it's people use it like interchangeably as guys or the gents or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So then I think it probably came from like Afrikaans and then it just developed into it went probably through colored culture into black culture and then into that slang. It's fascinating where some of these words like originate from when you actually think about it.
So actually, speaking of colored people, one of your notes here is the colored debate. What is that about?
But you miss it.
I mean I don't know. Tell me. Maybe I saw something.
Okay, so long story short, this woman was on TikTok. Not sure it's a woman or girl, but she was on TikTok and she was speaking about colored culture, blah blah blah,
Uh huh.
stuff like that, right?
Uh huh.
And then American TikTok got a hold of her clip, and they were dealing with her in the comments, telling her, "Hey, you self-hating, whatever. You can't use the term colored.
So
What?
the girl who did it is our type of colored.
Yeah, it's a South African colored. Just South
Okay.
African colored, right?
Okay.
So she's just basically saying, "Oh, these are things that colored people do."
Yeah.
Or know how people on TikTok be
Yeah.
always
Yeah. Yeah.
on
Yeah.
some funny self-deprecating jokes. It's funny, it's cool. And no one in South Africa thought much of it. Like, oh, okay, there's something for colored TikTok and colored people to
Yeah.
have a laugh about.
Yeah. Just move on.
Yeah, then Americans got wind of it, and then they started. Long story short, uh, peltering her with all sorts of, hey, you're
Think
self-hating, the term
pieces.
colored is offensive. Yeah, I'm a think piece ngapansi in her comment section on TikTok.
Yeah.
And then she comes on Twitter and she goes, guys, they are dragging me on TikTok for using the word colored in my video.
Okay.
So South Africans then come to her defense in
In the
black, white,
comments.
whatever. They're all like, whoa,
Yeah.
we are so shocked. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
How can people be so freaking, so freaking dense to think that
Ignorant.
everything, to be so ignorant to think that everything is viewed in an American
Scope.
context, yeah, an American scope. So American Twitter then gets or catches wind of the tweet, and they now come with think pieces again on Twitter. But these are people who can't name 5 African countries, by the way, and they're coming and they're like, yeah, it's still irrespective of whatever context it is. The term colored is very offensive. Blah blah blah
Offensive
blah
to
blah
who
blah.
though?
No, so they're like, no, it's offensive. You can't refer to yourself as colored. It's what colonizers used as a term of what? As a term of oppression, bruh. So it's all back and forth now. Colored people are in it. Black people are in it. Now black people find the tweets, and now they're dragging American. It was a whole war of words.
Wow, I
I
really
think
missed
what's
this whole thing, man.
really, I think
Yeah.
what struck me about it, and look, I have no idea what the education system is like in America, but the whole remember when we learned in history that US practiced what you call isolation, quiet sort of diplomacy in the early 1900s where they didn't get involved
Yeah.
in world issues. They had their own sports, their
Yeah.
own whatevers. They didn't get involved in the First World War. They were just chilling by themselves. They're like, nah, Lina, do you, we'll do us. I'm not sure, but I tend to think that their history is very inward looking, if that's the case, judging from what I've been reading on that. And I don't know what the American education system is like, but it seems to be very inward looking. And now the world the world has become so, I don't know, unified in or maybe more connected. I think that's the
Yeah,
right word. The
yeah.
world's become more connected. Cultures have become mixed a bit, and it's almost like they're lagging behind in that respect.
No, I think they're showing off their ignorance, right? Because obviously, before we got so connected, before internet and social media, America, like you said, existed in its own little pocket because America is a huge country, right? It's like some states moving from like Alabama to New York is as good as moving countries, in some respects. So there's a lot of things where you could really live in America and never know about the outside world. Besides, yeah, there's other countries. There's Europe, there's in Africa, there's in Asia, right? That's pretty
Yeah.
much the extent to which a lot of Americans know. Because I think I've mentioned this before in uni. I was going to school with people with like they're telling me this is my first time leaving the state, like my home state, my first time ever. So now imagine that. That's a 20-year-old saying, with the first time I left my home state of New York or Cali or Texas or whatever was when I was
Mm.
20 years old. Now imagine that, right? So, and they're asking me stupid questions like, oh, so you came from Africa, how did you get here? Like, airports, like with runways, like tar and shit like that. You know what I mean? So like this is the caliber of individuals that you're dealing with, right? Then
Mm.
you layer on the wokeness on top of look who's in fragile foundation. So now you've got a layer of wokeness of our BLM and all them niggas in there, right?
Mhm.
And it's
But
like,
it also comes across as misinformed wokeness sometimes, right?
yeah, but then
Like
the
when people are
confidence,
wearing
that's where the
the
confidence comes
shikis,
in. Hey, motherland. Africa's the motherland. I'm like, nigga, shut up. Like, that
bro.
whole crowd is in there. And it's like, for me, it was a big, no, it was a sort of like a cultural shock where it was like, yeah, I realized, okay, colored. When I was in America, I was a colored person, right? Or, they love saying POC, right? Person of color. That was
Mm.
me in America. I was counted in that group of individuals. So I always chuckled about that because I'm like, where I'm from, I'm not colored, I'm black, right? So there's the actual separate. Even Trevor Noah had a bit about when he went abroad and like the whole thing about colored people and whatever. And I just think it's one of those things where like normally our brains are geared towards, oh, okay, you go somewhere else, you learn, right? And you're like, oh, okay, so for us, we do A, B, C, D, but in our part of the culture is this, and that. I don't go telling people, yay, don't call yourself colored. Colored people are the ones who are half black and half white and they speak like this, say, and da da da. Those are colored people, da da. Because imagine if all the South Africans jumped in the comments and said that, right? And on everyone's like, hey, da da da. And I'm like, that would be ignorance on their part. But like, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised the Americans responded that way because I know it is one of those kind of for if you flip it, Beyonce as well as there's another artist who used the word spaz in one of their songs, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then there was people in the UK specifically who were like, "Hey, Beyonce, this is super offensive." Da da da. To us, if you use the word spaz, it's not a cool term to use. And then Beyonce was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, okay, sharp," and she changed the lyric to the song. But in America, spaz to spaz out means like go crazy, right? Kind of
Mm-hmm.
shake your ass like don't care, but
Okay.
like so that's kind of the context of spaz in America. Like I'm about to go dumb on you type of shit. But obviously, yeah, in the UK it's different, right? Because I know growing up in school, someone said, "Hey, bro," that was an insult, right? But like, bro, like that is linked to sort of you being not intelligent, right? That was what it was when people used it, at least when I was in primary school.
Yeah.
So I knew that okay, yeah, this is offensive. But I know in America it's not, right? So those are some of the things where it's like, okay, you can reach out to Beyonce and be like, hey, this is offensive for us. Da da da. Okay, fair enough, cool. It is what it is. But I think the way that you've
Mm.
described what happened with this girl, it's like I'm like, bro, like me, I would stand my ground out of intent. Like if people are gonna come with that level of entitlement and think that we're here to, because it also
Yeah.
gives that whole energy of we need to educate these Africans. Where I'm like, no, 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 relax. Like that's where the whole that kind of look was in seeing you as an American as above all other countries in terms of we're the most advanced, evolved, like it is petty civilization is tough. It's really like
Mm.
I was researching, this guy who got shot. Oh no, he wasn't shot. He was attacked by five police officers, Tyree Nicholas. Did you
Oh
see
yeah,
that?
yeah, I saw that. I saw that in the news.
Yeah, so I
Five
saw.
and four of them were black or something.
Yeah, it's five of them were black. I was shook. Yo, you know what? When the whole news started coming out, because I saw NBA players speak out to Memphis, and I was like, bruh, another white cop, or white cops shooting an unarmed black man. That's really where my mind went immediately. When I was
Mm-hmm.
shook scrolling on Twitter and I see this, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually haven't read up on this thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I clicked this little 2 minute CNN clip and it's like, right, these police officers, and I'm seeing, Daki. I'm like, yo, it was black dudes? Yeah, bro, I was shit. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, cool. Now I need to look into this for real because this is where I was kind of sad because I was like, manji, the All Lives Matter crew, the black on black crime crew, them niggas were
Mm.
eating,
All
bro. They
guns
were,
blazing.
Vele, they would have been like, yeah, no, I was sad because I was like, ish, you know what? Because I'm sure these ones have been
Sets it
hearing it
back.
for weeks and months, right, about BLM, and then this was going to be the poster boy, right? It's the same as how niggas get where like, there can be a rape case where the girl is found out to be lying. Then everyone's like, yeah, you see, Philly women, this is your problem. You niggas are lying. Da, da, da.
Exactly.
It was one of those.
It
I'm
it
like,
sets it sets
fuck.
everything back
It's
like a
exactly
long way.
a long way, bro. I was shook, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And you know what? The scariest thing is, they have body cams, bro. The cops have body cams, and I'm just there like, you always know you
So
have body
Agutini, I'm
cams,
always
and you don't care. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Someone would have to explain that to me, bro. Because there's me. If I was a cop and I knew I had a body cam, right? If I know someone is looking at me, I'm gonna
yeah.
act right? Because again, this is public.
So
This is gonna
side
be
note.
public. Yeah.
So there's a whole chat that came from that. I actually wanted to get your 2 cents on it. So I I'm of the view that as black people we don't hate accountability. I'd like to think that we don't shy away from it, but there have been a lot of claims from a lot of black people that that form of police brutality is a result of white supremacy.
I did see someone try to explain how it is racism
That
still.
yeah, there was a
That's
woman who even went on the Piers Morgan talk show and she tried to say no, look, it's as a result of the system. So because these black men are in a white supremacist system,
yeah.
they will then perform as white supremacists in a way. What do
So
you think? Do you have time for that argument, or do you think, nah, I think as a people we need to own that, no, these are our own, who let us down.
I think it can be a little bit of both because the TikTok that I saw was a woman who explained it this way. She said because America was colonized by the British, right? Partly, and the
Mm-hmm.
British have had this whole concept of enforcers keeping the Queen's peace. So that has always been
Okay.
a concept that what was also kept in America of keeping the kings, in this case, king's peace or whatever, and that's where it's kind of got
Yes.
the ball rolling. So she was saying, with yes, it's
Yes.
racist in the sense that it's still a racial crime in the sense that these, even though these are black officers, they are indoctrinated in the mindset of keeping the king's
Yeah.
peace. So I was like, oh, I mean, that's
I
interesting. I
think
can't poo
that's a
poo,
good analogy.
yeah, I can't poo poo that type of analysis. I was like, I'm not mad at it, but also at the same time, I am the same person who'll be like, okay, Baruch Salah is like, we had brothers killing brothers,
Mm.
right? It's
Yes.
still something that we can't run away from, and there needs to be some form of a
Still
discussion
black
to
on
be
black.
like, yeah, so it's still there, but then the problem is, I think what ends up happening is where I think it all falls apart is that we're so caught up in so many beefs that if as black people we admit, oh, hey, listen, yeah, this black on black thing is not working, we need to change, then you're admitting to, sort of those supremacists who be like, the
The
problem is
people who
you black on
slander.
black people. So now you don't want to give up that
Yeah.
fight because you're trying to push the whole, listen, there's white privilege, there's racism, da 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 da. So you're still trying to push that argument, but then at the same time we've got our own dirty
Yeah.
laundry that we need to sort out. So like I think that's where everything falls apart because there's so many moving parts that even though you can even like and it's so funny as human beings that I can literally shift this into many, many scenarios, right? Where the whole the men are
Yeah.
trash thing, men refusing, but oh, not all of us are trash, da, da, da. Yet we know, yes, there is some of us who are trash, but then we can't be out here in public telling women that, yeah, I really see you trash. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's all these things where
Yeah.
you're fighting
Yeah.
these things on multiple fronts. And it's like, where do you
Yeah.
admit? How do you even address this? It's just, it's too much to kind of go into. And like, that's where I just kind of get depressed because
Yeah.
I'm like, so really, there's no story yet. Like, none of this shit is
Yeah.
gonna get fixed, bro. Because it's just
Yeah.
there's not enough people who are willing to be the bigger person. And I
Mm.
think there needs to be, in order for change to take place, or in order for real conversations to take place, I think there has to be enough people willing to be accountable. And the sad thing
Yes.
about us as human beings is that there's never going to be enough of us who are going to want to be accountable to say, yes, we fucked up and this is what we need to do. It's
Yeah.
always going to be a small minority. And for as long as it's a small
Yeah.
minority willing to admit and be the bigger person to allow things to change,
Yeah.
nothing is going to change, fam. Because we're just going to keep fighting.
Yeah. I think that's well said. I think that's incredibly well said. Um, I'm not sure if you remember Sarafina,
I do.
the movie. Um, there's
Are you
so
about to start
obviously
singing?
it's no, I could. I still know all those songs by head, by the way.
Wow.
Um, hey, dude,
I
I
only
grew
know
up on
one.
Sarafina. Dude, we had Sarafina on cassette. So even all my cousins and my brothers will tell you, we grew up on that thing. So if you ask Prof and Mto right now to recite Sarafina lyrics from a point of growing up, we'd probably all be able to because we're raised on that ish. But
I watched it and
um,
I just wasn't moved. Like, okay, I was, let me not say that. I was moved by it, right?
you were about to say something.
No, 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 guys. Hey, 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 please, please, please. Don't run away with this. I was moved by it, but it was one of those kind of like, you know how you watch Titanic once and you're like, yeah, okay,
Yes,
sharp. Yeah, like that
I
was
hate
kind of
it.
my reaction. Was that I watched it once and I was like, okay, cool, I get it. But
Yeah.
then I also moved on. But other people like you who was like, yeah, I watched it. Like, I don't. Sarafina to me does not have rewatchability appeal. Shaka Zulu
Oh, do
does,
you know what?
but like not
I don't know
Sarafina.
what it was. It was so I think it's a mixture of two things. So the first being that I grew up in a very cassette holding
So
household
did
where like
I.
a lot of
We had hella
VCR
cassettes in
tapes.
the house, bro. But like,
So
we
when
just
remember when ZBC started going the Hondo Eminda route, and then you couldn't really watch ZBC because and then you'd spend like your whole day watching the cassettes that you have. So
on
all
repeat.
those old on repeat, all those old South African dramas,
Yeah.
Scoody's Nice, Velaphi, Hlala
It's
Fileo,
good,
Shaka
it's
Zulu,
nice.
Sarafina.
See, that was rewatchable.
Exactly. Yes. So I'll throw Sarafina in there, but I'm moving away from the point I wanted to make. So in Sarafina, there's this guy called I'm not sure if you remember Constable Sabela, right? So Sabela, because obviously Sarafina, for those who don't know, is a depiction of 1976 Soweto
Yeah.
and all the violence that was perpetuated by the apartheid government. It's got Leti Kumalo and Whoopi Goldberg starring as teacher and student, whatever, right? But there's also a black policeman, Constable Sabela. Sabela is, for all intents and purposes, a tool for the white apartheid government. So he's a black man with a lot of power in the township,
Yeah.
but he's basically the enforcer of the oppressive regime.
Yes.
So when I look at those parallels and what you were saying just now, which actually he was, as much as he was black, could we call it black on black violence when he was beating school kids on behalf of the apartheid government? Or do we just say, actually, no, he is actually part of the white supremacy problem and the high
I think
crime?
it's the latter.
Yeah.
I think it's the latter because in that specific example, I think you can definitely go with the latter. And the reason I say that is because people assimilate all the time, right? And people can let go, even though because we again, if you go back to the bedrock of all of this, right? Race is a construction, right? It's just it's something that we've come up with to classify people, and if someone is indoctrinated into like the apartheid government and this is how we treat black people, and he's like, shut,
Mm.
no problem, I got it, right? Then yeah, you can say it's the
Mm.
latter in your case, because at the end of the day, we always laugh at locals in primary school. They're always those guys who are coconuts, right? Where, and again, if it's offensive to you, sorry, all right. How do you say coconut properly? What's the nice way?
Coconut.
They,
There was no nice way to say coconut, bro. People call you coconut, cheese boy, saladi, all those things.
there was those
But I
black
always felt
owned,
like,
sellouts who we grew up with, who like literally, if they could, would be a white guy, right? If they like, they've
side note, there
literally.
was nothing harder than being sent to set three Ndebele when you're a black person. Because in Bashona land, I'd assume it would be set three Shona. And that shit wasn't.
Yeah, that shit was funny, bro. In Debele at Whitestone was a joke, bro. Like, it was with Mrs.
Oh no, it
Inlea.
was a
I
joke.
remember that age, bro. Learning and it was, my dad was so offended, but I mean, I was good. I was like, it's an easy A, so like, I honestly don't care, because I
Bro.
read, I write. I feel I knew with this is all I need from the Debele language, right? I'm cool, but
Mm.
so yeah, you have those people who like literally would go to the ends of the earth to seem white, right? They're hanging out with white guys, trying to date the white girls. It's just everything about them is just not us, right? Not black. So it's just kind of like,
Relaxing their hair.
okay, exactly, relaxing their hair. All this other stuff. And it's like, bro, okay,
Well, like
fine.
not as girls, because girls relax their hair all the time.
I
But
mean, there
I
is
think when
dudes
guys do it, then it's
who
like,
did it. No, there is dudes who did it, and like they did it because I think there was that whole S curl era. So there's those dudes, but everybody knows who we're talking about. Whereas like I'm relaxing my hair
it's
in
cutting mono,
efforts
bruh.
to try and be, as white as possible. And again, in those rooms where those white guys, if they started being racist, he was not going to stand up and be like, yo, that's fucked up. And the reason those white guys had the balls to be racist in front of him is literally because they knew, hey, he wants no part of that shit. So he'll be there leading the
Okay.
whole, oh, look at those darkies, hey, blah blah blah. He'll be the one with the worst jokes out of the.
Mm.
Well, it'll be a case of like some of these guys, like, I'm sure some white guys are like, hey buddy, come on now, just like relax,
Like, whoa,
yeah, like damn
relax.
nigga, like
You don't have to
so
go that deep.
yeah, so those people exist, right? And it's like, so now if you're talking about Constable Sabela, it is possible, right? To be like, nah, you know what? This is not even like a black. Like he has been indoctrinated to self hate and to hate black people, right?
Yeah.
So now it's not even like,
Yeah.
hey, we've got a few bad apples in there. He's not even our apple. In songs, in football,
Song
when
wow.
someone is costing exactly, no, no, wow, no. It's like, even though he's on your team, is one of those things where we're like, we're working against one of our own is an op, and that's where it kind of breaks down, and people don't want to. And again, I think another big percentage of this is people really don't want to fix things. They want to argue, right? And they want to point out certain things. So you're gonna bring certain things up, but it's not in the spirit of like, you know, let's try to sort things out. It's more in the spirit of like, ha ha ha, look, right? And when you try to ridicule someone, that person is not going to take it lightly. And then now what did we end up with? With a fight on social media. And it's just like, oh, guys, are we actually trying to fix shit or not? And that's why I don't engage in
Oh
half of this
no.
shit, because it's like it's literally just the people are just there to fight and be angry, and
Yeah.
it's like, like what's the point? Life is too short for that shit, bro. Is
It really is.
nah,
It
bro. Show
really
me the
is.
jokes. Show me the jokes. Let's move on. If we're not about sorting shit out, show
Yeah.
me the jokes. Let me just smile, because there's no way I can come and fight, and for people to
Yeah.
take no seriousness in it.
I must admit, that I do think there is a very strong school of thought behind still holding those guys accountable. Mainly just because I think you know there's four of you, right? Four or five of you black officers, and you kill a black man.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to always want to blame the white man for everything that we do wrong as a people. Yes, I get it. It's Chris Rock has a very good sort of stand-up skit where he goes in a black people versus Negroes, right? Where it's like love black people, hate niggas, right?
Hate niggas.
Like that's
Yeah.
probably one of the greatest stand-up skits of all
Yeah.
time. I think even Obama quoted it. Yes, it's fine. We can blame the media, we can
Yeah.
blame whoever,
Yeah.
but sometimes we have to look at ourselves and say, hey, we need to do better because standards, right?
I
So
mean,
even
but
if you're a
even with
policeman,
that, there's also like the how part of it, and that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it's sure you can blame white supremacy and whatever and all this other shit, right? Okay, sharp. But then my thing is like, don't let it stop there, right? So if that's what you want to use as your explanation, cool. That's the explanation that you want to use. But my thing is like, okay, now we know the op that we're dealing with. How do you successfully, like move forward, right? In a way, what things can you put in place? What mechanisms can you put in place? What support do you need, right? Those are some of the conversations where they go hand in hand. And I think some of the time people want to focus on, no, you guys want to just talk about the solutions and hit it and excuse. There was a line someone used in another situation. What did they call it? They said you want to be emotional butlers to white people. That was the phrase. And I'm like, God damn, that's a bar. But like, my thing is, at the end of the day, I think from at least from what I've learned about society and people in general of all different races, is that and myself included, it's all about approach at the end of the day, right? And if someone told you, and this is just completely hypothetical, right? If I wanted Usena to do something for me, right? Or rather, if I wanted Senna to maybe Senna broke my iPad, and I want Senna to pay for the replacement of that iPad, right? If there was a sort of like a future predictor which said, Tabo, if you just kind of don't really say it's Senna's fault, right? But if you just talk to them like, hey, Senna, this is the situation. Like, you had my iPad, now it's broken, you've broken it. Can we come to an agreement on how, because I would want you to kind of, pay me back for the iPad because I need it, da 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 da. And if they said that path of going down that path is going to lead you to Senna getting you your iPad back, versus if you come aggressive like, Jiggy, what the fuck? Bro, you broke my iPad, da 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 da, cuss you
yeah,
out. I want you to replace it now. And you could be like, no, I don't want it, right? Or just take the
it's not
piss
going to
for as
go
long
on.
as you can. So I think there's both ways. I see the merit in both, right? In terms of I have the right to express my rage at you, right? I do have that right. But then
Yes,
on the other side, there is people who be like, okay, fine, yes, I could express my rage, but let me try and be more solution oriented. And I'm trying to say neither is wrong, but I just see that happening in society a lot, where there's a faction who want to express rage, and okay, rightfully so, right? No one is saying that you're wrong, but then there's also the other faction that would be like, okay, but what next? And
yeah.
again,
What's
same
happening
thing.
next?
Me just kind of forecasting into the future. I don't see those factions meeting, right? And because I don't see those factions meeting, I'm like, bro, let me just enjoy life, and whatever enjoyment I can find from life. Let me try and enjoy it, because those factions, I don't see them coming together, fam. And if they don't come together to be like, right, let's actually do something, it's always too small. It's a small group of individuals who are like, okay, let's try and do this or this initiative and da da da. The problem is the majority is too caught up, right? If they were to put a bill in America and say, right, we're getting rid of the guns, there would be protests, bro. There'll be hella protests because the majority is not willing to let go of those guns, right? If they
Yeah,
say, right, police officers, rubber bullets from now on, and all this other shit. Like, obviously, it won't solve the police brutality, but at least it's like, okay, maybe a couple less people are gonna die because we don't have actual bullets from guns, and who knows, but like these things are never gonna get passed because, in my opinion, it's just like this: the majority wants to stay in sort of this weird space of nothing changes. Like we were always ready to complain. There's going to be another shooting. There's going to be another case of police brutality. There's going to be another this. We know that it's coming, and again, Sarah, you can already predict the conversations, right? You can already
big
predict
time.
the conclusions. You already know what's going to happen, right? And it's because nobody actually wants to at least the majority rather, doesn't want to move shit forward. And if the majority, as long as the majority doesn't want to move shit forward, then, and that's why like BLM was huge in 2020, because for the first time, a majority looked to try and, implement change. And that shit was
Yeah.
like, oh, God, oh, okay, cool. Black people, white people, all of them, on one knee, all this other, like that. That was like, for me, I was like, oh, okay, all right, not bad. Like,
Focus.
yeah, there's hope, right? But ever since then, I haven't seen it again. I haven't seen people come together and be like, nah, fuck this, fuck our own situations and all this other stuff. Like, we're all human beings, just come together. This, we still don't have that galvanizing thing, and that's the sad thing about this whole situation, bro. Like, it's just, it's sad. It's sad. That's all I can say.
Hayi sizabona ukuthi bazathini. Whether, I mean, we'll see how it ends for these police officers.
Yeah.
On another note, similar note, the one we started on, Tabo, please talk to American friends, give them a map, tell them about Google. You can learn about history, geography,
You know what? I'd
the
honestly be done
American
with
way.
America. If it weren't for
Maybe
American
teach them about
sports,
the.
I'd be done with America. I
Maybe
couldn't
also
care
teach
less.
them about the metric system, and there's so much out there in the world.
Americans, it's harder than toddlers sometimes, bro. Like those are
No, but I guess
just a
it
lot.
speaks to the I guess, I don't know, maybe success of the country, whereas you can literally make people so inward looking. Anything that's just not in terms of that, anything that just doesn't agree with how they do things there is, I don't know, it's
I mean, but
foreign.
you could say the same thing about South Africa, right? Because South Africa, I look at it as Africa's America, right? And the
To an
population, I think
extent.
I could say that is sort of the one country in Africa. Maybe it could be more, right? But the one that I know the best in all of Africa, at least my knowledge of Africa, where people are not actively like, bro, me, I'm leaving, right? Like where everybody in Zim, everybody's default setting is, me, I give up on this, I want to leave, right? That's the
I'm out of
majority.
here.
But then in SA, that's not the majority. The majority is like, hey, we need to make this country work, right? And this country is the greatest country in Africa, or the greatest country in the world, and all this other stuff. So like, there's a lot of patriotism in South Africa, and part of that patriotism allows for a breeding ground of significant ignorance, right? Where the things that South Africans say sometimes. They're like, yo, brah, hey,
Yeah, like,
yeah,
yeah,
ish. We're like, come on,
can't.
dog. So you see that, and I see a lot of parallels with America and South Africa. A lot of parallels, a lot. And some of the things that we talk. I mean, obviously not the police brutality and all that stuff, but like you can replace police brutality with police corruption. And you can be having
Yonke
some of the same conversations. But anyway, I think let's park the deep shit for now.
Okay.
We're having people complain. Someone added us Isolo and was like, "Hey, you guys talked about Messi and Juventus for 30 minutes or something." And like,
I
yeah,
remember that.
this is a good education now. So like, now you're talking to your man. So like, yeah, but babe, Messi is not having his best season right now. Da, 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 da. Chuck him, hit him
Yeah,
some
you must be
statistics.
able to
That might get
now
you a
further
bag, bro.
your bizo in a conversation.
Yeah, exactly. So that you're not just that hand where you come over to the guy's places for prize and you're just on your phone the whole time whilst the guys are talking. Like, bruh, come on, engage,
So kunzima.
engage. This is why we're here. Okay, so let me see. Oh yeah, so I watched this show on Netflix with my wife. It had a lot of hype. It's called Kaleidoscope. Did you watch it?
I did watch Kaleidoscope. I did
And
watch Kaleidoscope.
did you watch it in the random order, or did you watch it with the chronological order?
I watched it in the random order recommended by Netflix.
Okay. Do
And
you
I
think it
must say,
worked? The whole hype train about, hey, you can watch it in any way and it will still make sense and it goes about nine. Do you believe that
it
was the case?
so it makes sense, but the watching experience wasn't great. If you get what I mean, right?
I think
It
I disagree because mine was ruined actually because there's an episode like before you get I think the last three episodes are the same for everybody. So I think you might have had the same thing. So I watched whatever 3 or 4 episodes right of the random order, and I'm like
mm,
okay for those 3 episodes of four, the randomness is fine. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm picking up this and this and this and that. But when it got to the place where the heist is the very last episode, and I
yes.
think the third last episode flips to when they're now on a boat and they're reflecting on what happened in the heist, and there's scenes specifically from the heist, and I'm like, you guys are you're ruining the heist.
Yeah.
So that's pissed me off. I was like, I don't really want. And then like the next 2 episodes before the last one are all about what happened after the heist, and I'm like, it's just it's falling flat for me because I need to know what happened in the heist, and
In the
also those
heist.
episodes weren't as entertaining. The post heist episodes, the pre heist ones, I was invested. The post hype ones, heist ones, I didn't care about them to be honest.
I do think I will say I'm of the view that it made sense in terms of following it, but my watching experience wasn't enhanced. It was kind of a bit ruined, right? So
Yeah,
I think it made sense in the sense that I can follow, but I didn't enjoy it. I think I still like the traditional chronological thing. Let's get to the heist. Let's see what happens afterwards,
like there's been movies and shows where we've seen like the first episode is the thing, right? And it's like, oh,
and
yeah,
then they
yeah,
throw it back.
yeah, you're thrust into all of this chaos. You're like, oh shit, what's going on here, right? And then it's like, right, 24 hours ago. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's cook.
Then you're
So
like,
so I think I've seen what Netflix tried to do executed better. But I just think that whole random because I think someone on TikTok also said, yeah, I feel like just any order. Like so I'd seen
mm,
it pop up on my Netflix, but I wasn't gonna watch it. And then I saw Mtogo's tweet, of which Mtogo is another person who I need to talk to because he was like, oh, Kaleidoscope is a must watch. And I'm like, really? Oh, okay. I trust Mtogo. Cool. Let me put this on the docket. Then I jump on TikTok, and then TikTok, this guy's like, yeah, no, this is a show on Netflix. This is my order that I got. Try, you can watch it in any order. Really, just pick a color, la 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 la. And I was like, yeah, well, okay, let's go. Me, I'm always pro innovation, right? I love innovation.
yeah.
And I know I sat through the whole thing, and I was just kind of like, nah. Me and my wife did it just to know what happened for the sake of curiosity. But like halfway through, we're like, we're like, how many do we have left? So it didn't. I was really hoping. I would
Yeah,
have
then
loved to watch it
yeah,
chronologically.
I did actually also get to that point where I was like, okay, how many of these do I gotta watch now?
Yeah,
Like, can I just see how many are left? I applaud the attempted ingenuity.
I don't.
But nah, I think watch it the normal way, and that you'll be fine. There's no need to do.
Yeah, no, look up the chronological order. You'll enjoy it a lot more. I think there was a lot to like about the show. It was a good concept,
Mm.
but I think yeah, no. Watch it in chronological order, and you have yourself a very very good time. Bringing it back to the Mies. So you're gonna need to explain the full context of this because I think I dope at it at the end, but there's a convent, not the one in Wulaya, because the convent in Wulaya is an upstanding institution. Okay, that one this news can never be reported from that one. That one is no. It was the one in Harare. Yeah, Harare, it's Gomorrah there. It's Gomorrah. So, so it was reported that I don't know, a group of girls, I don't know how many they were suspended.
8.
8 girls. So, Senna, you can give the details of what happened, and then we'll take it from there.
No, so eight convent girls. I think they were away at a leadership camp, kind of one of those you have at the beginning of the year, I suspect. Um, and according to the statement from the head mistress slash sister or head sister in charge of the school, they were found with a vape pen, I assume, right? But obviously, I think they were initially suspended on suspicion of that they were doing drugs. And then the later statement came out and said they've actually been expelled. Vaping is not allowed at the school, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, the suspicion around was ukuthi, no man, these kids were doing drugs, right? Sharp, cool. I
And
am
the drugs of it was the worst of it was weed, right? If I have that correct.
I have no idea now.
Okay.
Ma Besho, because no drugs aren't actually mentioned in the thing, right?
Oh,
In
okay.
the statement. So the only thing that was mentioned in the statement by the
Headmistress.
teacher was, yeah, the headmistress, was the vape pen.
Okay.
Ukuthi, actually, eh, there was a vape pen in the process or in the mix, and then the rumor mill then came and said no, one had weed, and then I don't know how that transitioned to people talking about crystal meth,
Oh shit.
uh, bro. So then from there, and then a lot of the rumors were that no, these kids were actually doing hard drugs, and there was a problem at the schools or in Zim schools. It kind of, someone on Twitter tried very, unfortunately, stupidly, to make it a private school public school thing, as if,
Oh, what did they
you
say?
know which is these elite private schools. There's nothing that happens there. You pay $2,000 a term for a child to go do drugs,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which
That's what I was gonna say was the what was funny about this whole search, right? That made me laugh was all the questions were like, right, you see, this is why private schools ain't
the
shit.
what? Sithabo siqalisile.
He said all the questions were
Fuck,
like,
we started.
they literally exposed it like, right, it's me. This is why I don't fuck with private schools. Da, da, da. I'm like, wait, by yourself. Not like, again, you spend, whatever, how many months of the year trying to argue about, hey, gafanana, hey, why do you private school people this gotcha so, and then this happens, you're like, yeah, you see, yeah, da, da. I'm like, you see, guys, like, come on. But anyway, that was funny to me. That really was funny to me, how a lot of people distance themselves on Twitter away from private schools. And I was like, oh, okay, I see. Next time the
Siyabona.
debate creeps back up, don't come back and start, hey, look. But I think for me, the most disappointing thing is that the girls ended up being expelled. That was the most disappointing thing for me because
Yeah.
I just think of like conceptually what a school is supposed to be, right? And I don't believe schools should be these bubbles where, because I don't even think it's an actual reflection of society that you can, they have a vape pen, right? Let's even say, go to the full extent of they were using hard drugs, your crystal meth and Ismani, but let's just even say it was that
Mm-hmm.
bad, right? For students who are that age in high school, right? I would take that as a teaching moment, right? Because it's like, okay, fine. If they, especially if they're first time, I don't know, maybe they're not first time offenders. If it's not first, then it's like, hey, listen, I don't blame the school at all, right? If they're not first time offenders, then throw my argument out completely, right? Because then, hey, bro, that is an accurate reflection of society. Where if you're a first time offender, it's usually a slap on the wrist, right? It's not crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if it's not distributing drugs, right? If it's using, it's not too crazy, right? In terms of the law. But I would have liked to have seen an opportunity where it's like, okay, a suspension is enough, because also another thing is what a lot of people already know who listen to this podcast is that, bruh, in high school we did have those people escort or who were about the drugs, who smoked weed, who did this, who drank alcohol. All this shit is around us, right? And I appreciate
Yeah.
that because it's like, okay, I if your parents have done a good job, you can figure out the right and wrong and be like, this doesn't sound like me. And I know hella niggas who are like, yeah, you know what, me alcohol, Jack, I'm good, right? Or me weed,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm good. And it's like, sharp, that's exactly what it's supposed to be. Because for me, my own fear as a parent would be sending my kid to college where I'm not there, where I'm probably thousands of miles away, overseas or whatever, right? And that's his first interaction with people who regularly do drugs. I was happy. Like, if I'm a parent, I'm happy that, right, Escolo, all this crazy shit is happening, because now I can sit my kid down and be like, hey, bruh, listen, this is what happens out there, but you need to be smart and da 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 da. If you end up doing the drugs, da da da, like, have those conversations. Your kids to know, and don't turn them into these like, because and in uni, and I'm sure you saw it too, the ones who had strict parents and never got let out the house, those were the wildest
Mm-hmm.
homies like, bro, like there were some guys and some girls where it's like, Sen, if I start divulging stories here, bro, people will think I'm making shit up. And it's I'm like,
Winning.
I'm looking at this hand and I'm like, bruh, are you okay? Like it's as if I'm trying to listen, bruh. Every dude in this part, you must get some. Everyone. And I just think like, whoa, bro, this is hectic. The boy with other hands are like, hey, bro, yeah, no, this one is on a hectic tip. When it's like every weekend, that's your spillion, right? Because you see, you have access to all these things at the same time, and there's no one. Your parents aren't there to be like, yeah, don't do it or whatever. You have a lot. You have the least bit of information of making responsible decisions, right? And I think that's the worst place where you now have to figure out what's right and wrong, right? I would like for a student to have that experience to know, no, you know what? Osmo, anybody, that was the weed crew. They did weed, and I saw what it did to them. I mean, I'm good. Or you like, hey, you see that and you indulge, then
Mm-hmm.
okay, cool, you indulge. It is what it is, right? But like, it's I don't know if it is what I was hearing, Uguti, it was a vape and we're talking weed. I think then it is gratuitous. Like, what are you doing? What are you trying to
Yeah.
teach the other kids? Because it's like now you're just imposing fear, and now if they're normal high school kids, guess what? They're just gonna do it smarter. That's all that's gonna happen, right? They're just gonna do it in,
Yeah.
in a much more sneaky way. Where as a
But you know
school, are
how
you really teaching them
these
any values?
these sort of school trips and school camps and whatever's were always an opportunity for, here's the thing, right? Parents will always stress themselves and be like, oh yeah, my child, maybe I'm the one who's not raising them right. The honest truth is, half the time when kids go on these like school trips,
Yeah.
those are the opportunities for kids to try
Yeah.
stuff and be kids and be wild,
Yeah.
because there's no sort of that controlling hand that they would usually have maybe at home. For those who remember, Vincent came on the podcast and spoke about
Vodka 12.
the vodka 12, when they smuggled alcohol and he eventually got suspended. It
Yeah.
was a whole thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So these things happen. Now I'm not sure if you're a parent, right, Tabo. Maybe you're not one of the parents of the 8. You are the other parents of the other 500
Yeah.
or 600 or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And you hear that, no, there's children who were um caught doing, you know, drugs at school, weed or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Do you not think that you would want those children out of the environment so that they don't influence your children negatively?
No, because again, it's just you have to think about it. You have to go back to when we were kids, right? So yeah, there is that instinct as a parent to want to protect your kid, right? But then we also have to forecast and think about I can protect my kid now, right? And remove the potential hazard. And then I'm not going to be there to remove those hazards, right? And by removing those hazards in that parental way, you're not necessarily educating the kid to be like, oh, okay, that's a hazard, I should move away from it, right? If anything, you're probably hyping up the whole situation more, where the kid goes, hey, child will lead there, we got weed, and vaping. Like, what? You man got expelled. Because again, think about it, especially at a boys, I'm thinking about it as us as boys, right? There were dudes in my school
Mm.
in Ethiopia who got expelled, right? And it was like, oh shit, but then they got expelled for like stealing shit. So that one was very, very clear. No one was like on some, hey, me out to try and steal something. Like those ones, I can understand. You get caught stealing, you're out. Okay, sharp. There, cool. It is what it is, right? Especially if it's
Mm-hmm.
like it was a proper scandal, bro. Like shit got out of control. So that one I understood. Hey, bro, these ones are shocking. But even at that, we still felt bad. Where we were like, listen, if they got suspended for 2 weeks and they came back, we'd be cool. Because again, we understand that level of right and wrong, and I'm not going to be mad at that. But as I think as a parent, I'd want those mistakes and these things to happen whilst the kid still lives in my house, right? Because I still have the opportunity to have some influence. and have some conversations, which are now we're now forced to have those conversations about drugs because now your school is emailing me telling me, hey, brother, there was a scandal. Unis ain't emailing me telling me that, hey, there was a scandal about weed, right? They're just not. It doesn't happen in university. It's just, at least in the US universities, every other day, bro. It was just a case, like, all universities want is like, please just don't die on our campus. That's literally the threshold in the US. Just don't die.
Yeah.
We don't care what you do. And if you call EMS, like it was with the emergency services, the rule was if your friend is in trouble, right? Like, so let's say the OD or whatever, they don't get into trouble and you don't get into trouble if you call emergency services. That's what, so for them, it's literally just about, hey, bro, get people the help that they need because they understood that, hey,
Yeah.
kids are going to be kids and some dumb shit's going to be done, right? And I think that's the same
Yeah.
mentality that high schools also need to have. With, hey, bro, kids are going to be kids. They're going to do these dumb things, but like have an environment where we're going to focus on dialogue and be like, no, you know what? This is a problem, and this is why, as an institution, we can't stand for students using drugs and vapes, and then if they go on and they're caught again, then hey, bro, kick them out because you didn't learn the lesson. But where was the learning opportunity in all of this, right? My only beef with it was just the one strike kind of, hey, bro, y'all have been suspended. We've discovered this.
One strike, you're
So,
out.
yeah, you're out there because it's like, I'm sure other parents, especially
Yes.
Zim parents, are going to be happy. Yeah, no, my child goes to school, really, it's zero tolerance. And it's like,
Because I
you
think
know,
that's probably what it came down to.
but you
Because
know,
I know a lot of people were incredibly critical of the
those
school.
girls who have homies, right? Who have friends who weren't suspended, who weren't involved in this whole thing. Are they going to stop being friends because they got expelled? No, they're still going to be homies. So if I'm the father of one of those girls who didn't get expelled, then what? I don't even know Uguti Umtana Okona who got expelled is the friend of my daughter, right? I might not even know. Maybe I do.
Yeah.
But even if I do, what's a Zim parent going to do? Go and have that lecture. Hey,
But
auntie,
you've got
Uzulu Guti Kona, Samantha, bamcoach this call. Hey, I don't want to see you hanging out with Samantha because he's into some attract. You know that typical Zim mom lecture, right?
yeah.
Is that going to be the lecture that as a kid you're like, yeah, you know what, my mom said I mustn't, so I can't be your bro. You're
No,
gonna be on the
I don't think
phone
that'll
with
be.
Samantha, like, yo, listen,
Yeah.
your public enemy number one. Where is it lit at, fam? And it's like you,
I think you're still gonna be friends.
yeah.
But what will be different is maybe those parents would be like, I at least when they're at school, I know for a fact Uguti it's a clean
But
environment
is it?
without any
Is it a
of
clean
that stuff.
environment, son?
It may not be. It may not
It's
be.
we know that for a
But
fact
you'd
that it's
want
not, bro. Like,
that reassurance from the school,
no,
Uguti,
no, no.
someone's doing
I feel
something.
like you're being disingenuous by even thinking Uguti it may be a clean environment. It just we know that people
No, no, no.
they
So
didn't
not
catch
that it
everyone,
will.
right?
It's all about the perception.
Yeah, but that's my thing. Is that we know they didn't catch everyone, right? We just know that. If it's a normal operating school in Komora, Harar, we know they didn't catch everyone. That's number one. Number two is that, again, because people are so connected, right? There's social media, all these other things. They're still going to do these things, and it's not just about the one school, right? You had friends. Were all of your friends based in CBC? No, maybe the majority, but you had a couple guys at Petra. You had a couple guys at Falcon. You had a couple guys at other schools that were in town, right? So as you grew, you knew more people. So even though you're trying your best to protect that one environment, all right, a convent, let's just go with your assumption, zero tracks, right? Zero tolerance campus. Are the conversations being had though, right? Because the kids don't live in convent, right? They go out, they go home, they go out to social places, and in these other social places, those expelled girls will find another school, right? Pazahamba, wherever, whatever schools are in Iran, and they're gonna meet them again. Then what, right? Have you? So my biggest issue is focusing too much on they've been expelled, really, and less so on we've gotten counseling for these girls, and they're actively going about learning even if they ended up still expelling them, but take the step as the institution at the time, right, and invest in what's important which is having those conversations and having them hopefully understand where they went wrong, where they misfired with this whole thing, and then be like, okay, you have a shot at completing your academic career. It might just not be at our school, but we still believe in you, right? And leave them with that sense of like, you're not a bad apple, you're not a fuck up, you know what I mean? Like, because this, I think I've seen a lot of people that I know personally go the wrong way because they just think that they're a fuck up. They just think, me, there's no hope for me, right? And you could have just been a
Yeah.
simple conversation with a counselor or a teacher who cares to be like, no, you're not a fuck up, my guy. Yeah, you made a mistake. We all do. We all do.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I to be honest, I actually 100% agree with everything you've said. But would he first prize should always be take the kids, help them out, get them counseling, get them off drugs.
Yeah.
Maybe, if it's an experimental thing and it's like, oh, let me try weed or whatever, I'd be less concerned about that because, teenagers
And
will do
imagine
that
getting expelled for
experiment.
that, bro. Like, it's like, bro, some random kid bought the vape, and then it's
Yeah.
like, remember when, when came to Luguzen with what was it? It was Amarula. He came to Whitestone with Amarula, right? And
Aren't you
like,
exposing the boy?
no. I mean, hey. So he comes, and this is a perfect example, right? Comes to school, and it was a random ass day, bro. Like probably like a Wednesday or Thursday or something like that, right? And this is the thing is, and this is what the majority of what either primary or high school kids would do, right? And he, what he did was more of the minority. He went to the extent of overdoing it and getting drunk, right? And then he lost all composure. He was drunk on campus, da da da. But guess what? He was the only guy who was drunk on campus. But ask me, how many people had a sip of that Amarula? That's a different story now. Exactly. You see, and it's like, imagine if all of, let me not say us, if all of you guys, if all of you guys, right? If all of you guys ended up expelled, now my bestie has been expelled for having a sip of Amarula. It's like, bro, is this like the beer there in assembly with shooting with the bro? We've expelled 10 boys for having a sip of Amarula, and Whitestone is a zero tolerance campus. And it's like no. Like for me, that's a complete no, right? And it should have been a case of those, if you catch the boys who took a sip, right? Then you're like, guys, this is not okay, right? These are the problems. Alcohol is dangerous, da 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 da. Run them through the whole course of why alcohol is a big problem, right? And then you move on. And then if you want to, I mean, I think even expelling him at the time, he wasn't expelled, right? He wasn't expelled. He was just suspended.
No, I don't think
I
so.
think he was just suspended. And they moved on, and again, never did it again.
Wasn't it hard labor?
Yeah, I think
Yeah, you had to do like hard labor.
That's some wild shit. Your white headmaster telling you got to do some hard labor as a black man. That's a whole other conversation.
I had to go slash grass in the bush.
Okay, that's a whole different story. But like, you see, my thing is with him, he's not suspended, and to my knowledge, he never ever brought back another bottle to school. And yeah, sure, he went on and drank later on. So whatever, it's his prerogative. At that point, it's his prerogative. But like, I think
Can we? I think what we need to do. Can we mute his name after we're not posting that?
No, but guys, everyone knows this whole thing. All right, fine. Mute the name. But like, yeah, I think everyone knows it. But it's fine. It's fine. And also, I mean, it's not even like, you know what? I don't think it's that bad of a story. I honestly,
You went on to drink later on in life.
But okay, but that's information findable on Instagram, bro. That's information. Like, come on, let's tell them on the public information, especially circumstance, right? Like, but anyway, we'll mute his name. But the thing is, the reason I even shared that story is because 99.9% of it is we're laughing about it. It was funny. Like, even the fact that he pulled it out.
Yeah, it was funny.
It was funny. Like, I was like, bro, this is mad. Like, how do you have booze? And also, the fact that the thing is, it was Amarula. And we didn't believe. Because I don't think... Did he put it in a bottle? Because the thing is, Amarula, I'm told, tastes like chocolate milk, right? So...
Yeah.
It's one of those things where the majority of us did not believe that this is actually alcohol. That's how mad, like, people,
I've forgotten how he did. I think
people's,
he poured it into like a
I
bottle.
think so, something like that. So people's minds were blown. Like, nah, you're lying. Like, there's no way this is alcohol. And he had stolen it from his parents' like liquor cabinet at home, right? So now, yeah, people are having sips and say, "Oh, yo, this is mad, right? This is slapping," and you know, man, oh man, we had a pond, and that pond was dirty, right? And fish, these goldfish inside, and man, like,
That's dirty as
bro,
fuck.
man literally went and chugged the vat in there. I was like, no, you track, bro. But anyway, all this to say, guys, all this to say, like, I'm happy in his situation that he wasn't expelled, because it's a stupid thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's done a dumb thing as a kid, and the ones who've joined him equally
Yeah.
dumb, right? But that's not a thing where it's like, okay, as about in, because what's in my
Yeah.
opinion, then your school it's not as esteemed as you say it is, because school is not just about going and learning, I want to say Arabic, what's the thing, man, algebra, there we go. So schools is not about Arabic and oh my god,
Algebra.
algebra and geometry and literature classes or whatever. School is a place where
Yeah.
we spend a whole lot of time developing who we are eventually going to be as human beings. And I think if we looked at it that way, especially in Zim, I think we would be, as a population, shift. A lot more of us would shift in a positive way, because now the way we look at things and the way we raise people and manage people, like, well, there was a time in the group center you were talking about, hey, there's an HR, when we're talking about people being underpaid, right? Which is an HR woman,
Yeah.
what's low, if we give him this salary, how are we going to justify it? What is he going to do with all of that money? It was like, that's not HR's problem. HR's problem is
Yeah.
it's just, hey, bro, does he deserve this money? Is this market rate? Yes or no? Right? Don't start and say,
Yeah.
hey, Tawo's only 25 years old and there's no way we can be paying him $70,000. No, that's none of your business. But then in our culture, that shit creeps into it.
But they do
Yeah.
it.
So these are some of the things where if we shift it, and I think it starts all from where? From the base education and the way we're taught to think, things that are shamed and versus things that are accepted and all these other things. And like the way, schools are producing all these kids, it's like you're doing them a disservice, where they have to be the lucky ones who unlearn the nonsense, right? But then there's going to be some who are not so lucky, who, with better guidance, could have been great individuals. We know those guys. And you see, now I'm not going to name names, but we know those individuals, right? Where it's like,
Yeah.
hey, bruh, this was the smartest guy in our class. This guy was going places, but, fatalalat, because also the guidance wasn't there, right? It's like, yeah, he was,
Yeah.
yes, he was a tough nut to crack, but that's your job. If you're an educator, crack the nut, dog. Like, that's what you're supposed to do. But
Yeah.
unfortunately,
And what it does is, unfortunately, it sends the problem onto the
yeah,
streets. You're not solving it, you're just pushing it on someone
exactly.
else.
And now the yabies are crying, saying, "Hey, men are trash. Ngoba some a teacher didn't do their job." No, 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 no. Like, you see,
Yeah.
this is why don't talk to men about men are trash. Go and talk to the teachers, because the teachers made us this way.
At our school, what would happen is I think they would suspend you for, any form of banned
Yeah,
substance, and then you'd come back. The call your parents, suspend you, come
even
back, and they
cuts,
give you.
bro. I'm cool
I'm
with the
not
cuts,
sure.
even though it's like, yeah, whatever.
I'm not sure if they'd give you kind of like all the help that you needed in terms of like a counseling point of view, but definitely they wouldn't expel you.
There was a white boy who was expelled, but again, he was a repeat offender. So his shit was like,
Yeah,
he
no,
was
you can't be a
always in
repeat
Tomo's
offender.
office. It's like, bruh, you clearly are not serious. They absolutely suspend them. I mean, rather expel them, get them out of there, because
No,
they're
no, if
not
you're a
trying to
repeat
be,
offender, then.
you know. I
But no, do you think Zimbabwe has a drug problem before we go? I think it's creeping in. I
I
think.
don't know. I don't know enough, because I'm not in touch with Miz at a ground level like that to be like. But I
Yeah.
know my Wawungane was saying, what it's bad. Like, he was like, there's kids ODing.
It is
He was
bad.
telling me names of drugs I've never heard before, and I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, CBC boys, local, and it's like, I don't know whether it could be one of them WhatsApp chain messages, but again, he works in the world healthcare industry in Zim and Wulaya to be specific. And if he's saying that and he's in healthcare, then I tend to believe him. And so I do think, yeah, maybe this generation really has it rough. And I think if it's true, right, if we're gonna go with that, I think then it's more important than ever to change the way educators are looking at these kids, because
Yeah.
it's gonna get crazy, bro.
Are
It's gonna
looking
get
at.
really crazy.
Um. Whilst I'm no,
Yeah.
obviously kids should stay off drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do weed. Don't do meth, cocaine. All of that should stay away from it. I would even caution against drinking alcohol until you've turned 18 and you're living in your own house and you're free and you know what to do with those substances
Yeah.
like in a
Yeah.
responsible way, right? So let's
Yeah.
put that out
Yeah.
there.
I agree.
But I would also caution Abadala, Zimbabwean aunties and uncles and parents and all those people. No, because this is what annoys me a lot with a certain age class or certain stream of Zimbabwean parents and adults and grown-ups. There's a tendency
Yeah.
to exaggerate and lie when these things happen. So literally, I don't know where crystal meth came from. Right? It wasn't in the school statement, but Abanzokta, the kids were doing crystal meth. Hey, Ubanbani, hey, they're all doing drugs. Hey, they're doing
I'm
this, they're
like,
doing
damn,
that, they're
Zim
doing.
Zim's
I'm
got
like,
meth. I didn't
what
even
the
know he
hell?
was up there, bro.
They might, to be honest, they might as well, right? But there's always this angazi. It's this sense of trying to cause panic and fear,
Yeah.
which is a very
That's the
I won't
problem.
say it's a trait unique to Zimbabwean parents, but it's a quality and something which I think is deplorable. I think it's irresponsible for
To
grown-ups to be doing.
sensationalize, that's
Yes,
the
that's the
headline, because
word.
also the
That's
thing
the
is,
word.
it's the school that's attached to it, right? And people want to now, hey, take their shots and all this other stuff, and it's like, a lot gets muddled up into it, and that's why I'm like, you guys are losing the plot, right? Because what about the girls? And it's like, that's the sad thing, is that nobody cares about the girls, right? And that's not enough of the conversation. The what about the girls part, barely hearing it. But guess what? The headlines, yeah, headlines made it into group chats. The opinions. Like I bookmarked a tweet, bro. I was like, whoa. So this hand said, Uguti, y'all are defending kids taking drugs because you do drugs. There's nothing normal about a 15-year-old smoking weed. Just because your body has managed to condition itself into your drug use, you think it's not dangerous at a certain age. And then it's a word in Shona, I don't know how you pronounce it. But like again, you get her point. So I'm like, hey, bro, like, so it was hot
Yeah,
take alert for like a whole 2 days, 3 days. And I'm like, okay, but what about the girls? Like, what's the positive thing that's going to be done to help the girls? Because if it's that deep, right? If the drug use is that, ring the alarm bells, then my thing is like, okay, fine. Put them in a situation where they get the help that they need. If it's that deep, you know? And that's, I'm not hearing enough of that. It's just about the headlines. Kuphela ukuthi yeah, convents sesibabambile, they think they're all of that, and obviously because convent girls go and they talk shit on socials, and it's
yeah.
like
But it
people are
became a
like,
gotcha
right,
moment, right?
yeah,
It became a very
exactly.
big
It
gotcha.
devolved into that.
Sanbamba, yeah.
And
You
which is
know,
sad, which is real sad, bro. But I think at the end of the day,
but in
we,
all
you know,
instances, it's not a school issue, it's a society issue. If the society has a drug problem, then irrespective of where your child goes to school, irrespective of whatever, your child could easily fall victim to that. And I'd caution anyone who wants to come and act better on the internet, on some trying to shame the kids. Like, yeah, I went on about these days, bro. Maybe back in your day, people were still doing these serious drugs and you didn't know, or maybe your kids are on those drugs and they're hiding it very well from you.
yeah,
You
yeah.
never know.
People are
But
tweeting with, hey, remember the days you used to steal my mom's car at 4 in the morning, 2 in the morning, and bring it back by 4 to go to the club. And the mom's
bruh,
thinking, hey, me, my sons were amazing boys.
that
Kanti,
that might be more dangerous than another kid who's
exactly,
smoking weed in their house. Both are not
exactly.
great, by the way, but probably one puts themselves in more immediate danger than the other. But anyways,
I
that's
think I
my
think what you were saying, especially like to the aunties, uncles, and the older generation of parents, I think just try your best to stay away from sensationalizing these things, because what you're gonna do to your kids' mind is now they're not gonna want to tell you if you're gonna come at it from a judgy, point of view, right? Where it's like, hey, really, you're going to hell. But anyway, again, we've seen all the skits online, right? About the really mom reacts and
yeah.
but talk about nah, just what whatever. Those type of things where like
Yeah.
it was a toy, your kid had a swig of a beer and the mother's throwing herself on the floor and it's like, bro, come on, right?
Ah,
So
also
with
is
those type
Dagwa.
of things, exactly, it's like, so it's like, when did I get to dawa, bro? Like when you need to like bring it down levels. And my thing is, I know as kids what we do is, if certain things are hyped up and built up, right? Whether it could have been drugs, it could have been like, or rather weed, at least in our generation, right? Or alcohol and sex. Those things were so hyped up, like it was legendary, bruh. Legendary. Like in high school, who's like this alcohol, whatever. It's almost as if people are like carrying bricks of cocaine. Like it was hyped up to that level at a kid's like space, right? Imagine now with the adults who also hype it up even more. And if you think of it in the context of all of it, we're talking about a $2.50 beer. That's what we're talking about. A
Mm.
$2.50 beer. Where in my thing, I would strive with my son to kind of make him realize, bro, this is like, this is nothing, bro. Like, I don't want to teach him to fear alcohol and fear, like, not in the way that we do it, right?
Oh
But
yeah.
also, I'd want him to understand, and understand, hey, listen, the reason I don't want you to drink is this, this, and this. The reason I don't want you to take drugs is because this is what drugs will do to you, right? But not because if I sensationalize it, he's gonna be like, yo, this sounds like some hyped up shit. And he might be the type of kid to be like, I'm curious, I'm curious. I want to see. Like my dad says, hey, this thing is hot shit, right? I want to see. And then now that might get him into some tricky situations. And the reason why I mentioned sex, there was a lot of people in high school who were desperate to what? To have sex and lose their virginity. And some of them, they regret that because it was like, bro, all this hype and sex is not
Dololo.
really all of that, right? And it's because of the way it was just hyped up, right? Amongst us as kids and amongst your parents. They stay very must save it for marriage and get it, get it. It's like, okay. But also, yes, great. If you want to save yourself until you marry, that's absolutely fine. I will have a problem.
It's
But at the
perfect.
same time,
Like me.
let's not hype it up like the second coming of Jesus. There's a difference. Honestly, because if you compare the tone of some parents, bruh, and then you compare the tone of them talking about sex and how really you must just not do it, and then compare the
That would
intensity
make
of
you
them talking
very
about the second
excited
coming
as
of
a
Jesus.
kid.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing, and it's like, bro, nah. You do that to a kid, like with I'm saying it now. It's like he'll want to hold something, and I'll move his hand away. And the more I push his hand away, the more he struggles to try and take that thing. Like that's just how he is, right? And
Mm.
I'm like, okay, cool. So how do I now maneuver this situation? So that's my message to be to the older generation that be listening to the pod. Hi, please don't sensationalize things because you're doing yourself a disservice. Because
A
trust me,
huge disservice.
your kid is an expert liar, fam. Expert liar. They will swindle you, and you will hit. I said I mustn't mention any names. Me, I'm not gonna mention any names here. But nah, there's people's parents here who think, yay, they can't
As
stop talking
as ulunge
positive
kabi.
things.
We buza thina mntu omdala. Ask us,
Hey,
we'll tell you.
your son, your daughter is here harassing us in the DMs, bro. Hey, where are we grooving? Get it on a Wednesday. Wednesday, our sevens in. No, self for Wednesday. You know what I mean? It's like, anyway. We hope the message has been received. Guys, let us know if we missed out something. If you feel like we're completely wrong, let us know. It's dialogue. Let's have these dialogues. I hope this helps someone out there because I was
Sando,
very
quick one.
disappointed.
Before we move on, why do you think theft is treated so much more harshly than drug use in general? Well, in our schools, right? So I know in our
I
school,
think
in
because it's a
CBC,
crime.
if
I
you
just think
stole.
because it's a straight up crime, like so drug use. I would have to look into. I don't know what the laws are about drug use, right? So
I think you
it's
can't
and
deal. Dealing is a crime.
exactly. So there's heavier
Possession is
crimes
also a
around
crime, I
dealing,
think.
but possession of drugs is more. I don't know. Like you're more the person who would know the laws, right? But I think that's kind of where it stems from. Where
Mm.
no matter what age you are, like that's if you've stolen, like you've
Mm.
stolen, right? It's their
And
crime.
CBC didn't give second
Theft,
chances
murder,
for
that type
theft,
of thing.
right? So
Yeah, no,
if
yeah,
you
because
took a phone or whatever once from someone, you're done, you're
yeah,
gone.
money.
There's
So I think
no
yeah.
coming back.
So we kind of rank some of these things, and so I guess also you're doing it to yourself. Maybe that factors into it, right? So if you smoke
Oh,
weed,
whereas
then
when you're
it's like
stealing, you're harming someone else.
yeah. So I think it could also
Okay.
assault could be another thing where you can get first time offender out one time, right, for assaulting another student. So I think these are some of those things, But who knows? It's a good question. So if you have a good answer, guys, add us, let us know. Would be happy to hear from you. But we need to wrap up, Mr. Moyo. Let
Yeah,
me
well,
just quickly
yes.
check the DMs. Someone sent. Ish, but this one is a story. Okay, we'll save it for next week. Someone sent us the. You remember that there was a thread about the Diallo hunt from PSG. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that the one who hired goons
Yeah,
to
thugs
attack a
and
teammate who was signed in
yeah,
her position. That was
that's
wild.
yeah. No, that definitely is
that's
wild.
that's that's proper African. So no, what do you think of
He
this
said,
this
"Wow, is it African?"
what do you think of this gym creep thread, right? So where these girls on TikTok record themselves working out,
Yeah,
uh, and then a guy maybe in the background glances in their direction, or maybe some do stare,
yeah,
and then then she posted on some, look at this creep watching me in the gym, blah blah blah.
yeah,
What I- that's been a revelation on the internet, just in the manner of the responses, right? Because I think we spoke a few weeks back about how everyone always wants to center themselves as a victim. But what's tended to happen now is people see these videos and they're like, nah, that's bullshit. Ain't no freaking way.
yeah. I mean, I think there is. I don't know. It's complicated in the sense that obviously, yeah, with our influencer culture now, it's now almost come to an all time level where acts are kind, right? So clanging, right? So there could be a creep who genuinely did lurk, right? But then also, what's the difference when if someone is just finishing a set, they stand up and gyms have mirrors everywhere, right? And guess what? I'm trying to look at
Mm.
myself, right? I'm in the gym. I'm checking out my muscles, right? I'm checking out my legs. So at the end of the day, you're going to be looking out for a mirror. And, if you see someone in the mirror, okay, you see, okay, it registers. That's a human being. That's whatever. So clanging, right? So I think it's very, very complicated. And I don't know. So some of the people complaining about it, I'm like, I don't think you should be the spokesman for this one, chief. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things, right? Where I'm just like, I don't know, bro. Like, it's a. I don't think it was you that niggas was looking at, but I think it's I don't know. Gyms should just go to like a no recording, you know. Like all of us, let's just not record, right?
Policy, I
If
think that's
if
important,
yeah,
because ultimately, and I find that when I'm in the gym, right? So maybe I'm by the bench press, and then I'll do like my set. Where I find it's not like I stare at people, but I just look around, right? Like I'm just like, oh, okay. I like your
but
your
I
your eyes
also want to
just
see what
scan the
other
room.
other workouts people are doing as well, right? Because like some people will use equipment in a different way, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I want to try that. That looks like that could work.
Yeah,
These XX muscles. So like people do look,
yeah,
and I've seen people look at me, right? And I'm not like, hey, and I'm like,
yeah. Like get tolagala.
yeah.
Or sometimes literally when you see someone doing something that's odd, right? Like maybe they're struggling with the weight, or maybe they're recording themselves in the gym, right? It's not everyone who records themselves.
Because
So you're
also
like,
if you
oh,
if you're attention seeking, that's another thing, right? If you're attention seeking, and then you get that attention, and then you call foul for getting the attention that you were seeking. It's like nah, bro. Like if you were using, you know, the machine, there's that you know that item, I forget what it's called. The machine that works your groin area.
Oh yeah, I
So
see
like you're
that. I see
essentially
that. Yeah.
you're closing your legs against it.
You're
But
opening and closing your legs.
yeah, but then it's the other one which you have to open your legs, right? So it's that usually it's like you just
I
shift
see
the
that.
you just shift the pads from the inner leg to the outer leg, and then like
Mm-hmm.
Hans tends to do it almost like so there's a seat where you do it and then you're done. But then I've started seeing more and more hands in the gym who will do it, but they're slightly like they're not standing up straight, but they're kind
Yeah.
of squatted. And it's just like I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, like yes, maybe it works your glutes a bit more, but
But
then
if
at the
you're
same
watching that
time,
girl do that
yeah,
on
it
video,
looks very very provocative. So I'm just kind of like bruh, like is it necessary for you to do it? That I don't know. Maybe hey,
hey,
anyhow to go to the gym. Is that form better than just sitting on the chair? That's personally that's what I want to. Maybe I'll ask the trainers tomorrow when I go to the gym. Hey, bro, me, I'm seeing people stand here. How far? But my assessment of it, from my point of view, with my knowledge, is like that's kind of you're doing a lot, right? And if you're doing a lot in the gym, it's like those owns will be in by the free weights and they're grunting, ugh, and I'm like, dog, come on, keep it
keep
to
it
yourself.
down.
Yeah, it's like okay, yes, you can. We all grunt, we like but it's like there's a certain volume, and at some point, if we don't know whether you're in the bedroom or the gym, that's a problem, right? So those have. So you're seeking attention. So if you're out there grunting, right, because you're carrying 35-kilo dumbbells, and people are staring, you can't get mad at people staring at you because you're grunting, bro. Like you're mad. So if you're out here like semi twerking on a machine, then it's like,
Someone is
bro.
going to stare, right? Someone's just
Yeah.
going to look and be like,
Someone's gonna
"Antenza,
look and
bro."
be like, I don't
Now, if
think
they
that's
catch
how
on
that
video,
equipment is supposed to be used. Right? And then now yeah, exactly. You catch them on video and it's like, hey, you're creeping. It's like, all right, why don't you just sit on the chair again? If you sit on the chair, then okay, maybe niggas might not look, right? But it's just I think there is that line of like, okay, there's a level of attention seeking, and then if you get that, now you're trying to quote unquote weaponize, as that mob would say.
yeah.
I think I have a problem with that. But yeah, the creeps
So
absolutely
someone,
crazy.
someone, someone picked out that it's mostly white women that are doing this, and then there was a tweet which then said
Oh, I think I saw that
the probably
tweet.
yeah, someone said then it's their attempt at centering themselves as desirable in the mainstream again, because kind of mainstream has moved on from the skinny white girl being the most attractive. Whereas
Yeah,
remember how in old movies people used to say, "Oh, my butt is so big, I need to lose weight,"
yeah.
or like I remember growing up and people be like, "J Lo's got a big ass." I went and watched all those movies again. I'm like, this J Lo, that's the one who apparently. I was so shocked, dog. Like I went back. There's a couple of movies, J Lo movies on Netflix that I was watching with my partner, and then we'd watch a couple,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, "Is this the woman that people say had a big
Yeah, no,
booty?"
people used to talk about
Because
J-Lo's ass like it was out of this world. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like back in the day, maybe I thought so, but yeah, I might need to check out some of these movies
but
and also,
in the
you know,
but you see in the mainstream nowadays, right? The Kardashian body is the
Team
one that everyone wants, right?
BBLs.
Right? Hey. So maybe this is maybe that woman is right with the Tweetawitty. It's their attempt at centering themselves as desirable because people aren't taking notice or paying attention. So now it's like, oh, look at me, they're staring.
Yo, I know that's doing a lot for attention, eh?
It is.
That's doing a lot. My goodness. Yeah, I mean, I saw that tweet and I was like, you know what? That's an interesting theory. I'm not mad at that theory. I'm not mad at that theory for real.
It is interesting. It is interesting.
Okay, so before we go, there's a thread that was funny. So like, we'll touch on it real quick. The
Yeah.
dropping her off, relief from dropping her.
That was funny as hell.
That was hilarious, and I was like, you know what? I felt this is a no. First of all, let me put a quick disclaimer. Just put a quick disclaimer. I'm a happily married gent. Happily, emphasis on the happily. You have a beautiful family. You have a beautiful wife. So what I'm saying is pre that, right? Pre that period. I felt seen. I was like, yo, I understand, bro. Like
Yeah.
to the point, like so my wife would ask me like, how did you know I was the one, right? And I always tell her this.
Yeah.
I'm like, bruh, you know what? Me, I always had like a very short kind of like saying boy type of thing, right? And me and her at when December like 2017, we
Hmm.
spent hella time because I was on holiday. So were together for like 3 weeks, saw each other like every day. Like maybe out of 20 days, there were like 2 or 3 days I didn't see her, right? And that's not me
Hmm.
personally. It's like, nah. Maybe out of 20 days, I might need to see you like five, right? And it might even with
Yeah.
those five, let's make those occasions that we sprinkle out throughout. Like I like my own space, right? So I understood. Like I've had that level of relief where I'm like, ah, thank God she's gone. Like the point you don't even DOS, bruh. The whole night, bro. I wish this nigga would leave. You know, like and so I understood where the gents were coming from. With the I had
So
to
wait,
have
for
a
people
friend call me and all this
who
other
aren't
shit.
on Twitter, can you just explain to them or give them examples of what people are saying in the thread?
So essentially, the person, I think it was a guy who was like, "Gents, let's have the stories, about dropping off and whatever." So long story short, it's just guys were sharing their experiences of how relieved they were when they had to drop their partner. So when the girl eventually has left their house, or he's dropped her off back home, or whatever, but they're apart, right? And the guy now has his space to himself, and it's typically associated with a lot of whew, okay, cool. Like, I was not tired of this shit. So
Hmm.
there seems to be a low tolerance of partners, right? And I think I don't know. I don't know what causes it. To be honest, I think sometimes it's just for me. All I can say is I just liked my own space where I can just kind of I don't have to talk to anyone. I can just do my thing. If I want to watch TV, I want to watch TV. Like no one is gonna,
Hmm.
I'm not responsible for someone. That's kind of where I was mentally. Where it's just kind of, I just do my own thing, you know.
Yeah.
And if I'm gonna hit up Senna, like, hey Senna, let's go hang, or even other girls, like who are just friends, right? Hey, bro,
Yeah.
like where's the movie at? Let's go have a good time. And I don't
Hmm.
have to be, on some gentleman tip or whatever. Like all this other shit, like just comes with, like when you have someone that you're trying to impress, right? And you can just like, nah, it's kind of like, yeah, nah, I can just be easy, Like also like shit, like you can just let one rip in your house, right? On the couch or whatever,
And be
right? You can
free.
just and be free, relieve yourself, bro. Like so, things like that. Like people just like their own spaces. And this is why we're talking. Remember a few weeks ago we were talking about away games are better than home games, because in away games
Yes.
you can remove yourself from the situation. Home game,
You can
hey,
just
bruh.
leave.
Yeah, because some of y'all don't even know when to leave. That's another big problem. I won't even, start camping at the guy's house, and it's
Mm.
like, hi, bruh, go home, dog. Like,
So the girlies in the comments were not happy with that thread.
oh really?
Or in the quoted tweets weren't happy with. Oh, of course they weren't. Oh, naturally. Um, no. They weren't. Like some of the guys were like, "Yo, uh, um, wait, let me actually pull one out." This one guy was like, "You always need the problem with ladies is they don't want to go home, and that's so annoying. Now she's lingering for more than days than agreed. You can't hang out."
Imagine, but your weekend
Um,
is 2 days, dude. Imagine 2 days in case now. I'm
And then
with you.
Lo Munyuti in 2019, I don't know how that happened, but that hand moved in with me. Kancane, kancane, she would leave some clothes behind. That was the longest 5 months of my life.
Especially those
So
ones
then the girls
who
and
move in without consent, bro. Where it's just like, now, oh yeah, so I'm gonna be with you for the weekend. Like, says who? Like, Ella first. Like, let's start there, right?
there's the
Are
one
you?
there's the
Yeah.
one crazy story where this guy said he packed a full suitcase as if he's going away on a work trip, dropped it off at home, and then he went back to his house. But the
Ah.
girlies are upset underneath in the quoted tweets and comment section saying, "Hey, you guys should just date people that you like. You mustn't hlupa umntana bantu if you're gonna be so." upset that she's spending time at your place, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. And I
Yeah.
actually, I can hear that, and I do think when someone genuinely likes you, they want to spend time with you. But sometimes I think abantu basuke bethatha ngamawala, if that makes sense, right? So maybe it's still in that phase where guy is still trying to get to know you, but then now some
Yeah, because also there's a
some
time limit, right? So it's like I like you, but I don't know how much I like you, right?
yeah.
So at the end of the day, I don't. We're not at the phase where I want to give you my whole weekend, for example. So but the problem is, and I'm sure you've heard this banger before. I don't want to be treated like I'm some sort of like hoe, and you're just in it for the sex. I felt like I was
Exactly.
used. So that whole rhetoric comes, right? So obviously, niggas, I don't want you to feel like that, and I don't want to be in a situation where I'm not being accused of that. So guess what? I'm just gonna now suffer through it quietly because I don't want to be now accused of me. I'm treating you like a, like a Spaniard, right? So now there's that. But the relief comes from that. Yo, okay, she's finally gone. Otherwise, yeah, I would have. If that was never an issue, I'd have just been like, Chief, go home. Because I know this for a fact. If you tell a hand right now, Braco home, you're gonna get that text. You're gonna get that text immediately. You're gonna, like, within like a couple of
Yeah.
hours, or she's gonna get you the silent treatment. Then eventually, when she, maybe guys, it's gonna be like, hey, you want me for the physical, da da da. And it's like, I mean, hey, bruh, like sometimes it's just, I want to chill with you for a short time, and short time, but like so these things, they happen, right? And like people are allowed to have those things where it's like, nah, I'm good. If it's just we're chilling for the afternoon, we'll just chill for the afternoon. But I think know when to go home, bro. Know when, if it's not your
Know when to
house,
leave.
know when to leave. Like, know when to leave. Like, it's just like, nah, bro. Like, or if you just check if you're with someone that you're seeing and
Yeah.
you don't want to see, just be like, hey, I'm thinking about going home now. Are you cool? Be dropping me off, whatever. But be slick about it and see how quickly he jumps on that suggestion to take you home.
Yeah.
Because, and again, I
Which
don't
is
blame guys
cool.
for that. I don't blame guys because you do want your space sometimes. You do want to just chill out. Because again, most girls are not going to want to chill and watch you play
Spend the
FIFA
day
for
indoors
hours.
watching football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, so she's going to want attention, right? And it's like, what if I don't want to give you attention? Then what do we do there, right? What if I want to give
Yeah.
myself attention?
Now you
You
must make a
know?
food plan and all these
Yeah.
things, which is cool. Which actually reminds me of another conversation that was happening. Sorry, before we leave, I know we're now extending, but there was a chat also on Twitter, where the girlies were complaining again. So girls have this thing where they debate very silly stuff. Sometimes it's always fun to watch. So the chat was about cleaning your man's place or the guy you're seeing when you
Oh,
get
yes,
there,
yes,
right?
yes, yes. I saw that one. I saw
Do you
that
see
one.
that?
Yeah.
And obviously the tail was split between you get there, is there an expectation for you to clean the guy's place? I saw one of our favorite listeners, Ayanda, in there also with her 2 cents, and she was like, actually, I'm not going to a guy's place before I get there, right? So
Yes.
clean before
Yes.
I get there. Like I feel like that's pretty standard.
Yes. That is standard.
Um, but the Mbogotos were fighting, saying, no, how can you say you like your man when you don't? You're not gonna clean when you get to his place. And then this one girl actually said Uguti she slept over at a guy's house. Then
Yeah.
he left in the morning, texted her later saying he's coming back with his friends. I hope you've cleaned. And the time the girl left as it is.
that's that's hilarious.
What's
That's
your
okay.
approach when you're before she was your missus, when she was coming over? Would you clean up beforehand just to make sure it's like spotless? Because I think most guys do that. Like you make sure that it's neat
Yeah, no.
and it's tidy.
The standard is always clean up, right? I mean, I think that's the happiest cleaning any nigga could do. When you know that there's some pum pum on the way, bro. Like, listen, like you got the music playing, really you koropa like your mom taught you how to koropa the floor. Like you make sure you put your arms
Yeah.
into it, like everything. You even like fucking get a candle from Bath and Body Works, all that shit. So that's the best time. Any nigga will tell you that's the cleaning when they're the happiest when they know what I know. 8 p.m. she's pulling up. Then yeah, it's lit or whatever it is, right? So that's a standard. But I think where I agree with the borders, it's like at the end of the day, if she has a standard, right? of cleanliness. Let's say our standards don't match. Let's say she's more of a clean freak, right? Than I
Okay.
am. And then the next day, the house is a bit messy or whatever. We've got some plates in the sink, and I'm like, nah, my helper comes on Mondays, and it's now Sunday, right? We've got some food from last night in the sink, or plates from last night in the sink, and she's like, me, I clean every day. Then if that's her prerogative, and she goes ahead and she cleans, cool, let her clean, right? So it's like, hey, if that's what you wanted to do, cool, right? But I just think that's where people weren't really specifying when this cleaning should be done. I think as a dude, always make sure that your place is clean. That's,
Yeah, dude. Like,
that's
don't invite Umtana Bantu over when you've got like your socks
Yeah.
on the bed and your
no. And as a hand, you pull up to someone's yard and you see everything is everywhere, then that's on you for staying there, bro. that's really on you. I don't blame the guy anymore. If that's your standard and that's what you're accepting, locals will walk. But I think afterwards, so if you're staying there for the weekend, you come in on a Friday, Saturday the house is now so, then at that point, yeah, it can be either or. Like because if the guy doesn't clean, if he doesn't want to clean, like if his helper's coming on a Monday, for example, he knows how dirty his place gets. It just becomes dishes in the sink, but otherwise everything else is pretty standard, right? Let's just assume that's the situation. Then that's on him. That's the way he runs his shop. If you're that offended or like, I don't like that, then grab a mop and a bucket, my guy, and clean the house. I think that's where I stand. So I did understand the girls who were like, no, listen, me, I clean because these are my standards. I absolutely respect that. But then I didn't understand the other girls who were trying to shame them. No, really, at a man's place, really clean. Yeah, I'm his wife. And I'm like, okay, so manje uzavuma ukuhlala phakathi kwengcekeza in the name of I'm not his wife. That to me is more delusional because it's like if I request it and I'm at a hand's place,
is it
some
more
hands
delusional?
are just messy, dog. As a unye, let's just move some things around because me, I can't, Some bathrooms, bruh, uyabaleka ndoda. Abafazi, shanks. Yeah.
Do you think it's more delusional, or is it a matter of, okay, I'm not trying to be that person. Like, I'm not trying to cater to you like that, especially if we haven't had.
I think the reason I think is delusional is because you are purposely inconveniencing yourself, right? So if it bugs you, so if it doesn't bug you, right? If you're a hand and it doesn't bug you that the place is not clean, right? Mid-weekend, then okay, sharp. Don't lift a finger. It's all good, right? It just means you can't say shit about, hey, he doesn't clean. Nah, you can't say shit about that, right? But then if it genuinely does bug you, like you're seeing Uguti, these cups should be there and the coasters are there, and if it's not okay with your soul, you continue to be there, but you're like, I'm not going to move it in the spirit of I'm not his wife, then I think that's delusional. Because it's like, bro, if your spirit is affected, address your spirit. Be at peace. Move what you need to move. Clean what you need to clean. You can even tell the nigga, hey, I'm only doing this because I don't like how untidy you are. You can even give him that speech if you want to. Throw that in there for some flavor, right? But, do what you need to do for yourself. That's kind of, that's where I'm with that whole chat. Like what the show said. Like, me personally, if I wasn't comfortable and I have to suffer in silence, fam. Nah. Like, absolutely not. That's not what I signed up for. Yeah, kuluma ya ucheru die. And I mean, if you feel like you should, sometimes be like, no, then it just means you need to tell the guy to clean up. But like I said, if the dude is like, hey, me, I'm fine, then what?
I'm cool. Then what must happen?
Exactly. Then what must happen? Wow, like that. Those words just did not want to come out of my mouth. Meaning, clearly, we need to wrap up the podcast. I'm out of my English
meaning
bundles.
It's time. The English bundles have finished.
Yeah, I'll start sounding real quash and then it'll be another problem.
Yeah. Great. But Ngizwile, Mr. Maps, Ngizwile.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. Anyway, guys, this is the end of another good podcast. Like the ting, retweet the ting, subscribe to the ting, and if you don't, we're inclined to believe that you're quash, Mr. Moyo.
Later, dog. Later.